O Word of God, come into this space. O Word of God, come send us your grace. Open our minds, show us your truth, transform our lives anew. O Word of God, come into this space. O Word of God, come send us your grace. Open our minds, show us your truth, transform our lives anew.
Welcome to lesson number 4. We're going to talk about an idea that sometimes you and I, we trade what matters most for what we feel like in the moment. We trade what matters most. We trade God's incredible dream for you for something so much smaller. But how do we do that? Why would you do that? Why would you trade an incredible dream for something so much smaller? Well, have you ever seen the movie Mary Poppins? Mary Poppins, there's a song in the beginning of the original, the old one. Maybe you've seen both, the old and the new. Which one did you like better? My daughters actually both liked the older one better, and I agree. But maybe you like the newer one better, whatever. But in the beginning of the original Mary Poppins movie, there's a scene with the chimney sweep, Bert, the chimney sweep, and he starts to sing this song. He sings, "Winds in the east, there's a mist coming in, like something's a-brewing and about to begin. Can't put me finger on what lies in store, but I feel what's to happen all happened before." He's saying that what's going to happen has already happened. It's already happened maybe many times throughout history. It's a new story, but it's not a new story. It's a new adventure, but it's not a new adventure. It's a new decision, but it's not really a new decision. You know, so far we've talked about, I know why you do everything you do, right? All these decisions you and I make, we make them because we're chasing happiness and we're trying to avoid unhappiness, right? And then we got into a few proofs for the existence of God. We talked about 8 of my favorites. And then the third lesson, we dug into, what would you ask? If you had the chance to spend a few hours walking with Christ, you know, on that road to Emmaus, a 7-mile walk, probably a few-hour walk, ask any question. What would you ask? And you talked about what you would ask, but also what a family member and what one of your friends would ask God, questions you have for God. But what I'm kind of proposing right now is that your questions have been asked before, right? The story that you're living, the life that you're living, people have lived similar lives. People have had to make similar choices. They've dealt with similar challenges. Some of the things you said you would ask. I went through all the homework that people turned in already on this. And some of the things you said you would ask, you'd ask for help. You'd ask for help maybe with a decision or with a relationship or with homework or with deciding, should I take this class next year? Should I take an honors class or not? Should I talk to my teacher about this challenge or not? Should I play this sport or not? Should I spend more or less time with this friend or with this thing that I spend time with? You ask for even help on how to become more patient or how can you be a better brother or sister or friend or family member. You asked about the future. You asked about your life, your family, your friends, the world. You asked about, will the pandemic end? When will life get back to normal? You had some really, really good questions. You asked about some very specific to you questions, and you also asked about some questions that matter to the whole world. You asked about evil and pain and suffering and why these things happen and why doesn't God do something about them, and does God punish people, and does God watch this, and how often, you asked, how often does God think about you? How often does God think about what you're doing? You asked, does hell exist, and if it does, why? You asked about the idea of rewards and of punishment. You asked, does God punish people? That came up a few times. You asked, what is heaven like? Who gets to go there? What is it like there? What will it be? Can I fly when I go to heaven? Who will be there? Will my family and friends be there? If they're not, can that really be heaven? What if some of my family members don't go to heaven? Or does maybe everybody go to heaven? You had a lot of questions about that. You asked about the nature of God and the nature of us, of humanity, of mankind. You asked about why we see things the way we do, why we're born with different talents and in different times and with different struggles and with different strengths and weaknesses and family and opportunity, and why we're born in different parts of the world or in different places in history. But really, right, we started with this idea of Mary Poppins and something that's about to happen. It's all happened before. It's all happened before. What do I mean by that? Well, your questions, a lot of them go with these four questions about origin and purpose and destiny and morality. Those four kinds of questions, everybody in history has wondered. Origin, where do we come from? How did we get here? How did this all come to be, right? About origin, about purpose. What's my purpose? What's the point of my family? What's the point of my life? What's the point of life in general? What's the point of, we just had a big election, right? Just had a big election. What's the point of voting? What's the point of not voting? How should I decide how to do that? Destiny. Where am I going? Where am I going? Where are my friends and family and my pets and my grandparents and my people I've not met yet? Where are they going? Where are we all going? And then morality. How should I live? How should I make those thousands of choices that you and I make every single day? Well, what would you ask? There's a different question that goes with that. Why? Why would you ask those questions? Why would you ask those questions? See, people in Jesus' lifetime asked him a lot of questions. His followers asked him questions. They asked, can I get to sit at your right hand? They asked, does this really have to happen? But some of them asked questions not because they wanted an answer. You see, the word question is a really interesting word. The word question, if you break it in half, get rid of the ion, the I-O-N at the end, you have quest. You have quest. The word quest means you and I trying to find something. We're trying to get somewhere. We're trying to arrive at an answer, right? We're trying to find an answer. Well, we don't always ask questions that we want to find an answer to, do we? Sometimes we ask questions to kill time, don't we? Have you ever been in class? Actually, I watch this happen all of the time with Zoom class. I have a question, and a student asks a question, but they don't really have a question. They just want to distract the teacher. Can you do that? Have you done that? Do you have a friend that does that really, really well? You can ask a question to kill time. You can ask a question to be funny, right? You can ask a question to be funny. You can ask a question to make a point. You can ask a question because you want to get that person. You want to catch that person. Wait, Mom, didn't you say? Right? You can ask a question to make a point. Mom, Dad, do you think that's fair? How come my sister, how come my cousin, how come my friend gets to do, right? You can ask a question to make a point. You can ask a question for sarcasm or for criticism. You can ask a question to argue. You can ask a question because you actually want an answer. The root of the word question is quest, seeking an answer. But is it finding an answer, or is it finding the answer? Is it finding God's answer. I'm going to give you a real quick exercise to play around with. You see this picture? Look at this picture, and you can pause the video for a little bit if you want to. But I want you to just look at the picture, and what do you see? What do you see in the picture? What do you see in that picture? Look at the picture, and maybe pause the video right now and jot down a couple things you see. I see this, I see this, I see this, I see this. Pause the video. Write down things you see. Now, when you start the video again, I want you to know this, that every number from 0 to 9, actually to 10, is in there. Find those. Now you could pause the video again and find those. Find the numbers from 0 to 10 in this picture. Look for those. 0 to 10. Pause the video. When you come back, so first we look for anything. What do you see? Then we look for numbers. Another surprise, every letter in the alphabet is in this picture. Look through the picture. Maybe pause the video again and see if you can find every single letter in the alphabet. Maybe you want to do this with a friend or a family member, but see if you can find every single letter in the alphabet in there. I see B, you see C, you see D in there. Every number, every letter. See, we find very often, I think God built us this way, to find what we are seeking. He actually promised us, seek and you'll find, seek and you'll find, seek and you'll find, knock and it'll be open, right? Ask and you'll get an answer. Did you find all those? Another exercise, similar exercise, read that. What does it say? It says, the cat? Or does it say, tay cat? Or does it say, the CHT? You turned, didn't you? You turned the H or the A in the first word into an H. You turned it into an H because it's the. And then you turned the H or A, same letter, yes? It's not really an H and not really an A. It's sort of in between. In the second word, C something T, you turned it into an A because you were looking for something that made sense. You and I, we find what we're looking for. And it's a repeat. It's happened before. We're going to dig into a story that has a lot to do with your life. I don't know how much time in your life you've spent going through the stories in the Bible. When I was your age, the answer would have been not much. Not much. Because when I was your age, when I was 13, when I was in 8th grade, when I was making confirmation, I didn't realize how relevant all of this stuff is to my life. I didn't realize that the stories in there, throughout the Bible, there are lessons and there are warnings. There are lessons and warnings. There are lessons of, yeah, do this, here, look at these decisions. And there are warnings of, wow, wait a second, this person went down a wrong path. And they all speak to you and I. They all speak to us in our lives right now. And I'm going to give you one of those stories. It's from Genesis, early in the book, right in the beginning, Genesis. It's the story of two brothers. Maybe you know the story. It's a story of two brothers, Jacob and Esau. Now, if you have a brother or sister or a cousin, I want you to think about that person. Jacob and Esau, they were actually twins. They were twins, so they were the same exact age. Maybe you have a family member that's similar age to you, you know. And the father liked one of the sons better, and the mother liked the other son better. Maybe you can relate to that. You see, when you and I, when we read through the Bible, a powerful, powerful exercise is to do a few things. One, imagine you've never read it before. Imagine you're reading that segment for the first time. You're meeting the people in that story for the first time. And then imagine you're actually in that story. Jacob and Esau, twins. Esau was born first. The rule back then, this is probably about 4,000 years ago. Seems like a long time, yes? But mankind has been on earth for probably 200,000 or so years. So it's not that long ago relative to that. Esau was born first. The rule that they had in that culture was the firstborn got a lot of advantages. They got what they called the birthright. The birthright meant when the parents passed away, the firstborn would get more of the inheritance. I think it was twice the inheritance of any other family member. So let's say the family was going to inherit a house or land or money or sheep or whatever. The firstborn would get a lot more than anyone else. They would also get the name, the family name. They would carry on the family name. And they got to make decisions that no one else got to make. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Well, Jacob liked to hang around at home and liked to cook. He was his mother's favorite. Esau liked to hunt, and he was the father's favorite. One day, Jacob is home cooking stew. He's helping around the house, right? I don't know if you've ever been there. He's helping around the house. Maybe you have a sibling where one of you goes and plays a sport, and the other one helps around the house more. Or one of you is involved in music, and the other one is maybe in a play. Or one of you is great at math, and the other one not so good at math. And maybe your parents align better with one, or family, maybe your aunts and uncles align with one more than the other. Well, that was the situation, right? And Esau comes home from hunting, and this is what he says. He says, I am so hungry. I am so hungry. I'm starving. I essentially, I feel like I'm going to die. I'm famished. I'm famished. And he smells this stew cooking. He says, give me some of that. He says, let me gulp down some of that red stuff, that red stew. Probably like beef, potatoes, who knows? I don't know. And he says, I'm famished. I'm famished. Well, if you have an older brother, older sister, older cousin, if they ever need help from you, I'm a middle son. I have an older brother, a younger brother. When my older brother needs help, I tend to go down this path of, oh boy, oh good, he needs help. Huh, what do you need help with? You know, because when I was growing up as the younger brother, usually I needed help. It wasn't as often that he needed. So if he needed help, I would be thinking, what's in it for me? What can I get out of this? Well, that's, I think, what Jacob was thinking. By the way, I don't know, is this what Jacob and Esau look like? Or is it more like this? Maybe it's more like the second one. Here's what Jacob said. He said, sure, I'll give you the birthright. I'll give you that, that firstborn, what you get with being firstborn. He said, I'll give you the soup, I'm sorry, but first sell me the birthright. He said, that's what I want to trade. That's the trade I want to make with you. You get soup, and I get the inheritance. I get the more money at the end when our parents pass away. I get the power of making decisions. I get the namesake, the family line. I get all of that. And Esau had to be thinking, no, right? No, that's crazy for a bowl of soup. Or was he thinking, right now, I'm so hungry, I'll trade anything for something to eat. What did he decide? This is what Esau said. He said, look, I am on the point of dying. I'm on the point of dying. What good is the right of firstborn? What good is the birthright to me? I'm going to die. I am so hungry, I'm going to die. Now, we started, right? Something's about to happen that's happened before. Was Esau really about to die? I mean, let's be honest. Was Esau really close to death? Was he so hungry that nothing mattered more than food? Or was he exaggerating? I think you know the answer to that. I mean, have you ever been, my daughters play soccer. It was warm this weekend. It was 70 degrees in November playing soccer. I need to come out. I can't, I'm going to die of thirst. Were they about to die of thirst? You know the answer, no, right? But do we over-exaggerate how we feel sometimes? I'm exhausted. I can't finish my homework. I'm this, right? Have you ever done that? Have you ever overinflated a feeling and let it decide what you do? Have you ever over-exaggerated? And then you say something or you do something or you give a look to one of your siblings. Or you decide, I don't feel like, I'm too tired to finish this assignment, and you turn it in, but it's really not really what you're capable of doing. Have you ever done this? I know the answer. I know the answer to this question. Well, that's what Esau was doing. That's what Esau was doing. He says, I'm starving. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And his brother said, all right, I'll give you some soup, but give me the birthright. And Esau said, fine. Jacob said, no, swear to me. And Esau said, sure. You've got it. Jacob gave him some bread, gave him some stew. Esau ate and drank, and he got up and he went away. He traded it. He traded it. Here's a nice little cartoon picture of it. You know, Esau, oh, I'm dying. I was out hunting since early this morning. I'm dying. And look at Esau in the background. Oh, sorry, Jacob in the background. Now, let's fast forward. See, if we could see what God sees, we would do what God says. If we could see our lives from the perspective of God, we would follow his advice more often. We would actually look for his advice more often. Jacob and Esau essentially swap roles. Imagine if you and I could go back in time and talk to Esau that day and say, Esau, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not that hungry, buddy. Come on. Let's put this in perspective. You're hungry, yes, but come on. Is it worth trading double the inheritance? Is it worth trading the namesake of your whole family line? Is it worth trading the ability to decide all these things with what happens with is it worth that for a little bit of soup and bread? Come on, Esau. You know better than that, right? We might say that, and Esau might look at us, but you don't understand how hungry I am right now. You don't understand, right? You don't understand. I'm tired right now. I don't feel like it right now. She frustrated me. You know, my teacher gives me these crazy assignments. They're just too much. Right? We blow it up, don't we? We make it so much bigger. But what if we could tell Esau, you don't know what you're trading. Esau, you don't know what you're trading. Esau, if you don't do this, fast forward hundreds of years, the God of the universe, the God who created everything you see, Esau, he's going to come and introduce himself to the world. He's going to tell one person what his name is. He's going to appear to this person named Moses, and you'd say, Esau, Moses, a weird name, right? It sounds like a strange name, but yeah, that's one of your descendants is this guy Moses. And Moses is going to be out in the desert, and he's going to see a burning bush, and he's going to approach the burning bush, and the burning bush is going to be God speaking to your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson, saying, introducing himself. And Moses is going to ask what God's name is. And God is going to introduce himself to the world, to your great-great-grandson, by saying, I am the God of Abraham, who was Esau's grandfather. I am the God of Isaac, who was Esau's father. He would say, I am the God of Abraham, I am the God of Isaac, and I am the God of Esau. God's going to introduce himself. The creator of everything is going to introduce himself to the world, talking about you, unless, Esau, unless you trade the birthright for a bowl of soup. Unless you, don't do it, Esau. Don't do it. Don't trade God's plan for you, which is unbelievable. You can't know how big it is. You can't possibly know. Are you going to trade that for what you feel like in a moment? For an instant of pleasure, of soup. Oh, the soup is so good. Yeah, I just traded that. Take me out. Now God will introduce himself to the world, saying, I'm the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, your brother, because you traded the birthright for a bowl of soup, because you thought you needed it. So are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this, Esau? And Esau might look at us and say, I don't know. I mean, how big a deal is that? Is that really a big deal? And then we might say, well, Esau, let me tell you one more thing. We all make mistakes. The God of the universe is going to send his son as a savior to save us. And he's going to send his son into the world, and they're going to write about him. And the way they're going to write about him, the very first person that's going to write about him, a guy named Matthew, he's going to write, it's going to become the best-selling book ever in history. It's going to become the best-selling, the best read, the most read book in history. And this Matthew's going to write about this Savior of the universe, God's Son, Savior of the universe. And he's going to say this. He's going to say this. The book of the origin of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham, this is what it's going to say, Esau. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac begot Jacob, your father and your grandfather, right, Esau? Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob... Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac begot Esau. It's going to introduce the Savior of the universe with your name. Unless, Esau, unless you trade the birthright for a bowl of soup. Everything that's happening has happened before. You and I, we do it every day, don't we? We do it every day. We're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that to my mom. Oh, I should have helped out there, right? But in the moment, we don't always feel like it, do we? Here's my challenge for you to spend some time thinking about. Don't trade what matters most. Don't trade what matters most for what you feel like in the moment. Don't trade what matters most for what you feel like in the moment. I want to encourage you to do this. Share this little story of Jacob and Esau with a friend or a family member. And then talk about times that you and times that they have made some feeling in the moment matter more than what really matters most. I mean, there are so many simple examples. We have Mass at St. John's Saturday night, Sunday morning, twice Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. We have Mass at St. John's every day of the week. My daughters play soccer. So sometimes it's not that easy to get to Mass, right? I don't know. It's early. Oh, we got to go early, right? Because one of my daughters plays soccer every Sunday at 10:30. Oh, so if we're going to go to Mass, we got to go at 8. Oh, should we go at 8? Oh, I don't feel like going at 8. Do you always feel like going at 8? No. Well, let's go. Let's not go at 8. Let's do soccer, and then let's go to there's a Mass at St. Anthony's in Nanuet at 1 p.m. Let's go at 1 p.m. Let's go to soccer, and then right after soccer we'll go to Mass. Then soccer's over. Do you feel like it in the moment? Are you ever like, you know what? Let's just watch it online because that's easier, right? And then you're watching Mass online, and do you always feel like actually paying attention if you're watching it online or if you're actually in Mass? Do you feel like it? Or sometimes do you feel like being distracted? Do you let something become bigger than what matters most? Don't trade God's plan for you. Don't trade God's plan for you for instant gratification. Don't trade God's plan for you for instant gratification. Worship God, seek God. Not short-term pleasure, not substitutes, not shortcuts, not feelings. So we started our year talking about, I know why you do everything you do. I know why, because you're seeking happiness. But there's a difference. God understands your happiness forever. And you and I, very often, we're looking for happiness in the moment. We just had a big election, right? And I want to tell you a thought. This year, you're going to get to pick a favorite saint. You're going to get to pick a saint. You're going to get to take that saint's name as part of the confirmation journey. And I have probably 30 favorite saints. I try to add one or two every couple of months. And one of my favorite saints is Catherine of Siena. Catherine of Siena, she said, God concerns himself more with a soul than a town. And in her time, this is middle of the 1300s, 14th century, in her time, a town was a kingdom. In her town, essentially, a town was Florence or Siena or Assisi. A town was a kingdom. A town today, it would be like a nation today. It'd be like so she was saying God's more interested in your soul than he is in the future of a whole kingdom. What? Catherine of Siena, one of the most wise people I think who ever walked the earth, only lived to be 33 years old. But a massive amount of her writings survived. At one point she wrote to one of the popes, and she said, we have to look at this double-edged sword. One side is love of virtue, the other side of the sword is hatred of vice. And she's writing to a pope saying this. She said, and I suggest we use it on ourselves, you, Pope, use it on yourself, and then the people closest to you first before we try to teach the world to do it. Tough lady, amazingly influential, powerful woman. And she said, God's more concerned with a soul than a town. Think about that. That means God's more interested in your soul than he is in who won the presidential election. How could that be? How could that be? It's actually very simple. Your soul is infinite. Your soul lasts forever. Nothing in this earth will last forever. Our sun has a few billion years left. That's it. That's it. This planet, who knows? A few hundred million, few billion years left. But your soul is infinite. And that's exactly what this incredibly wise woman was saying. God's more concerned with your soul. Anything that's infinite, more important than something that's finite. Esau had that challenge, didn't he? Had that challenge. What do I feel like doing right now? You want to be happy. You want to be happy. There is no such thing as lasting, deep, lasting happiness outside of connection with God. The only place you find it. The only place you find it. Don't trade what matters most for what you feel like in the moment. Cut.